Welcome. Today we're going to be talking about configuring remote management inside Windows 10. So this is more of just an informational video. This isn't going to be how to do any of it. All of those are going to be covered in later videos, but I wanted to at least bring up core concepts so that as we move through the MD100 exam, we at least kind of understand why we're doing certain things. So when we talk remote tool options, there are two big tools: the Remote Assistance and Remote Desktop. The Remote Assistance in Windows provides many enhancements over the previous versions. It will include things like improved security, better performance, better usability. Windows 10 goes even further by adding technology integration with Remote Assistance called Easy Connect. This makes it even easier for novice users to request help from users. So normally, when you have the Remote Assistance, calling out for help used to be way more difficult. But with Remote Assistance, that's no longer the case. You can use group policy support, and it's also been increased. There's also a command line function, meaning you can add some scripting. For Remote Desktop, that's a tool that allows you to take control of the remote computer's keyboard, video, mouse, KVM essentially. This tool doesn't require some collaboration with you on the remote computer. It's you can take over the machine and use it as necessary. With Remote Assistance, you have to communicate and work with a remote user. With Remote Desktop, you do not. There's also other forms of remote tools like VPNs and other things that we're going to discuss a little bit later. Remote Assistance has two main examples for when you'll be using it. So Remote Assistance provide a method for inviting help. You can do this via instant messenger, email, or even a file. To use Remote Assistance, the computer requesting help and the computer providing help must have Remote Assistance capabilities. As long as they're both Windows 10, that should be good enough. They have to be both enabled, and both computers must have network connectivity, meaning they have to at least be able to get on the internet or a local LAN where they can communicate. Remote Assistance is designed to have an expert user, that's going to be the assister, and they will provide assistance to the novice user, the assistee. When assessing a novice user, the expert can use text-based chat built in Remote Assistance, as well as the expert can also take control of the novice desktop with permission. So the big two examples would be diagnosing of problems that are difficult to explain or reproduce. The Remote Assistance can allow the expert to remotely view the computer so that the assistee can walk them through what's happening on their screen. That's one. The second one is being able to guide a novice to perform a more complex set of actions. Here the expert can take control of the computer and do the actions, or can at least walk them through with a view of their screen. Trying to walk them through step by step when you cannot see their screen is relatively difficult. So at least this way, being able to see their screen, you should at least be able to give them some guidance. So we talked about Easy Connect being a Remote Assistance feature now. Easy Connect is a technology that's integrated with Remote Assistance, and it's a method for getting Remote Assistance that is integrated inside Windows 10. The important part here is Easy Connect will use the PNRP, Peer Name Resolution Protocol, and this will set up a direct peer-to-peer connection, transferring using a central machine on the internet to establish that connection. So even if the Remote Assistant is not directly on the internet, we can actually jump from one machine to another as long as one machine on that network has internet and has the appropriate protocols set up. PNRP will use IPv6 and tornado tunneling to register a machine as a globally unique device. If you're not using IPv6 and you are with PNRP, Windows 10, as well as most common other operating systems, 7, 8, and 8.1, as well as server, will all have the current standard of using IPv4. So that is how Remote Assistance can be used and kind of helping a remote user. With Remote Desktop, this is slightly different. With Windows 10 remote desktop features will include things like core enhancements for better performance, true multi-monitor support, a 2D and Direct 3D application. They do allow for bidirectional audio support, so when you are remotely connecting, you can actually have sound be bidirectional. It also has a much better Intune multimedia and media foundation support. A lot of the remote features that has been built into RDP have been drastically improved, all allowing an enhanced improvement for the overall desktop environment. Again, Remote Desktop allows you to remotely connect to a remote computer. No end user needs to be present, as long as Remote Desktop has been enabled. Other remote options, that's going to be either PowerShell remotely or a VPN. Again, this is not an exhaustive list. This is more of just a entry-level review of remote technology so that we can get a little bit better understanding. So enabling remote shell scripting, basically you can use PowerShell in a remote manner as long as it's configured and maintained. The issue here is, one, a security concern, because allowing the device to have Windows 10 and PowerShell scripts executable remotely does increase a certain level of security risk. You can set it up so that Windows 10 can use remote PowerShell commands, but again, security concerns, that is always going to be an issue. If a Windows 10 can use and accept remote PowerShell scripts, what happens if a attacker exploits that concern? So that's why, again, you have to understand that allowing remote connectivity does have a certain level of risk. Next, configuring a VPN. That's going to be a big part of remote connectivity, especially in a corporate world. A VPN, a virtual private network, this is a way to establish a connection between a client machine like Windows 10 and maybe the connection to a server. That way, you can have access to corporate resources when you're away from the office. A VPN will give you the ability to connect, this is called tunneling, to a network resource in the business. So normally they say server, but it could also be a piece of hardware, and basically you'll connect to this hardware, and that opens up the network resources of the corporation to you, and they secure it appropriately so not everyone can do this. Typically with the intention of accessing those resources that are available on the network so that the remote user can access and do their work remotely. So that is, again, basic remote options in a nutshell. This wasn't an in-depth review, this was a brief overview so we can start drilling down on those remote options. Any questions or concerns, please feel free to reach out. Thank you.